There have been many comparisons between UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson and President Donald Trump. In the latest edition of London Calling, Simon Bates takes a look at the relationship between the two leaders.
Don't say anything to anyone yet, but I think your president's got a secret admirer. Or maybe a not-so-secret admirer.
This morning I went to Buckingham Palace.
I've been closely watching our Prime Minister Boris Johnson since his huge election victory in December boosted his confidence. It's as if the cry has now gone out, let Boris be Boris.
It's about the reality.
It's time for him to show us who he really is. And I think that these last few weeks show that he's been learning from President Trump. The most pressing item in Prime Minister Johnson's entree is to secure a good future trading agreement with the European Union, which we just left. Other prime ministers would have opened the negotiations carefully and with some respect. Oh, not our Boris. He stormed in, telling the Europeans that he didn't see why the UK should have to follow any of their rules, and that he wasn't that bothered if there was no free trade agreement at all. It reminded me of President Trump with the Chinese, go in hard, and Boris did. Another reminder of your president was when Boris, quite out of the blue, fired this woman, who was the head of a major climate summit that Britain is hosting later this year. Her crime? She was independent and refused to toe the line, so Boris simply kicked her out. Another of your president's traits is that famous lack of detail. Concentrate on the broad brush approach. This week, Prime Minister Johnson did just that, suddenly announcing that all new gas and diesel cars will be banned from sale in Britain from 2035. That's 5 years earlier than previously agreed. Very, very Trumpian. The big, eye-catching announcement with absolutely no consultation whatsoever, leaving the automobile industry in shock. And finally, to us, to the media.
Mr. President!
Your president's relationship with much of the press has always been tense. Boris Johnson is clearly hoping to mirror this by publicly criticising the BBC and not allowing journalists from unfavoured newspapers into official briefings. An early display of force to show who's boss. Just like your president. That's London Calling for today. This is Simon Bates for CBS News in London.